This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
Interesting week in the NFL this week because we have got some cross-conference matchups that look pretty fun. Bears at Ravens, Cowboys at Broncos, Packers at Steelers. We're going to find out, but a lot of buzz about how good the NFC is. We're going to see whether that's really true. Today, we're going to talk to Brandon Gdula, get his read on those teams, talk a bit about the Chiefs. See, are they actually as good as they potentially might be and as they've shown some whiffs of being the past couple of weeks? And we'll dive into Brandon's favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook for week number 8. Welcome on into Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here, as mentioned, by Brandon Gdula. Find him on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, we are on to week number 8. How you doing today?
I'm good. Excited to talk some football. Crazy to think that it's already week 8. We got NBA going on. Could have been a little bit of a better night if the Rockets had just gotten it done. But yeah, settling into late October here.
This is why you need to do like the hockey version where it's like the 60-minute. Like the 60-minute version. You could have gotten a push on the money line at least,
yeah.
And if you had done that. So get some hockey in your life, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always such a coward of like taking points for underdogs and not going money line. But I had a feeling, like Houston, I think that's a really interesting team. My model showed enough value, so I was there. But I don't know. The Thunder, they're the Thunder. Seems like it's going to be the same old thing for SGA and the champs, but it's a long season, so settling in.
And I'm sure you'll be delighted to watch that product of basketball once again throughout the entirety of this year. Today, we're going to talk some NFL, break down the Chiefs again. Do they deserve to be the Super Bowl favorites? I think they probably do. I bet them last week. So I think they probably deserve to be where they're at, but I want to talk to Brandon and get his read on the Chiefs right now as things stand. Then we'll dive into those key games across week 8 and Brandon's favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook. But first, a reminder to make sure to subscribe to Covering the Spread, but also the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. All these shows do go up on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page Monday through Friday during college football and NFL season. Already broke down college football week 9 with Kent Padgett. That is up on the feed right now. Tomorrow, we're going to have Liv Moods on with me to break down our thoughts on player props for NFL week number 8. All those on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page and the Covering the Spread podcast feed. Of course, on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page, you can find me and Brandon breaking down DFS every Thursday, noon Eastern. That is coming up again later today, noon Eastern. Our thoughts on the NFL DFS main slate. FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Subscribe there. Leave us a thumbs up and make sure you turn on notifications there, but also check out the Covering the Spread podcast feed wherever you get your podcast. FanDuel's getting you ready for kickoff with a new offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 to use in bonus bets all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. NFL season is finally here. Only question is, are you ready to play? Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/Chat Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's begin things, Brandon, by talking about those Kansas City Chiefs, because they are once again the Super Bowl favorites at FanDuel Sportsbook, back down to 5-1, and Patrick Mahomes is the MVP favorite as well. They looked really good in the first game with Rashee Rice being back. So, in your eyes, as things stand, are the Chiefs the best team in the league? And who else would you consider to be in that tier right now?
It depends on if you ask me or my numbers.
Okay, I'm going to ask you first, and then I want to hear your numbers. Go.
To me, yes, this is the best team in football. I remember when people were just off the Chiefs, it was, their window closed, etc. But, there's a lot to like about this team. They tend to play greater than the sum of their parts. I have this player level model for the 2025 season. And frankly, this team just on paper, they're getting better. Rashee Rice is an impactful player. But they were really hard to project early on in the season because, look, man, what they have going out there is not super great. Patrick Mahomes' efficiency numbers in recent years were not really MVP level, but things have changed. He's running the ball, he's making plays, and they've finally figured out how to operate with Patrick Mahomes in 2025. And even without Travis Kelce being, his usual self, this team feels back, but in a different way. Kind of okay, you threw all the too high safety stuff at us, and Mahomes didn't run a lot. Okay, now that's not really working enough. They're finding ways to move the ball. And so I'm really optimistic about this team. So to me, yeah, I would take this team against any other on a neutral field. My numbers, though, do kind of have them. I mean, they're second, just behind naturally one team. It's the Packers for me right now.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. I think Green Bay is a really strong team. Not really the showing that we expected for them against Arizona, but at the same time, you got to give a team credit. They had some adversity, travel issues, not 100%, and did they go out and look super just steamroll a backup quarterback on the road and just go make a statement we're the best team in football? Not exactly, but they went out and won. That's what good teams do. Hey, not everything's great, but we found a way to win. And I think there's a lot of credit to them for that. So I kind of have the Packers and the Chiefs pretty close at the top. Again, just based on my model, I view it differently personally. So I have that's my S tier. Those are the two standout teams. I have a pretty long tier though of that second tier. I don't know what your numbers look like, but I have it pretty clustered. The Lions, Bills, Eagles, Colts, Rams, Broncos, Steelers, and if you project Lamar Jackson back, the 1-5 Ravens are in that tier. So the way that my numbers are shaken out is there's 10 pretty good teams, 12 pretty average teams, and 10 teams that just aren't moving the needle much. So whenever I project out games, I'm getting a lot of lopsided ones, but I had that last week with the Chiefs, and hey man, they showed that sometimes teams win by 31 points. Could have been more if there was any pushback, but so I have the Chiefs second in the model, number one and from the eye test. But where are they for you, and which teams are close for you?
Yeah, so as you know, and I've talked about on the show, I have two separate models that I run. It's two different routes to try and answer the same question of efficiency. And in the one that gets the most weight for me, they are first, and they are the only team in that tier. It is a big drop off down to team 2. In the other model, they are first, and they have a decent gap over second place, but then the gap there is a bit smaller. In both models, though, Detroit's actually number 2 for me. Which probably is not a surprise as a Jared Goff truther, dating back to a long time ago. And then Green Bay is third in one model and fourth in the other, with Buffalo being the other team that's in third there. So I kind of feel like those 4 teams to me are going to be the top tier. Now, Buffalo is actually fifth in the other model, with the Rams being ahead of them. The actual Rams are actually fifth in the other one too. So maybe the Rams are flirting with that tier. I'd probably keep them below Buffalo still personally. So I do feel like the Chiefs are the best team, and I think you can make a strong case they are in a tier of their own. But the Packers are, I think, pretty definitively top 4, with, to me, the Lions and Bills being the other teams at least in that discussion.
Now, I'm assuming this has a lot to do with how you weight defense to get the Bills in there. I think the Bills are great, but I think you just weight defense a little bit less heavy than I do.
And it's also the fact there's still a prior in there, and the Bills' defensive prior is better than what they put out there. In the model gets more weight, they're still my 15th ranked defense. They've been bad. It's also because that that model weighs in pass defense a lot more than rush defense, and that's what they've been bad as rush defense. So with the other one, let me see here what their defensive numbers look like. Oh, I gotta like sort some stuff out here. Let me just go to this one instead. Like overall defense this year, this is just 2025 data. They're 28th in the other one. But again, the prior for them is better. You expect guys like Ed Oliver to be healthy going forward too. So I think once we get more data of them like at full health, they'll look a lot better. The prior helps them quite a bit too. So I do still think they're up there, even if they haven't looked like it necessarily this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue too much with it. I'm just like, I think my larger point is, to me, the Chiefs are the best team. Yeah. They're still pretty much in that first tier. Just some like with how the Packers are rating out for me, they're close. But the bigger point for me is that it's kind of wide open a bit. Yeah. It's easy to like the Packers for if you look at the numbers and all that kind of stuff. But to be honest, they still are in like that show me kind of situation. Yeah. But honestly, so is every team that's not the Chiefs. Like, look at these. Jim's got the Super Bowl odds on FanDuel Sportsbook pulled up. Chiefs, I trust them. Lions kind of have to show me something still. Bills, Packers, Eagles for different reasons because they're the Super Bowl champs. But like,
sure,
they got to show me that things are not broken, I guess. And I'd throw the Rams in there too. Like, every team still has to kind of prove it other than the Chiefs.
Yeah. The Colts have proven it this year, but they're still 13-1 for a reason too. So yeah, that's something that's worth monitoring for sure. Okay, let's dig in now to some games for week number 8 in the NFL and begin with something you alluded to earlier on. That is Lamar Jackson's potential return here for the Baltimore Ravens. I have to say potential because they're being extremely cagey with this. Lamar, like, taken snaps as like the third string quarterback in practice on Wednesday. The market has not cared because they are still at 6.5. Total in this game is down a point to 49.5. I think it was a big number. So I don't think that's like an indication of Lamar or anything like that. But we get key pieces returning beyond Lamar, like Roquan Smith. It's still a decently big number against a competent Bears team. So if we assume Lamar is back, can the Ravens cover that big number, Brandon?
So there's a lot that goes into this one, and this is where a model that's built on like EPA numbers throughout the season gets a little bit hard to trust if you're looking at the Ravens, because you have to adjust for the fact that they haven't had Lamar Jackson. So my player level stuff should help there, and to be honest with that, it's no surprise that the Ravens jump back up to a top 3 offense in terms of moving forward, but also their defense getting a bit better. They've been relatively unlucky, like, or what I probably should start saying at this point in the season is how I project them moving forward is not how they've played on a points per play basis to this point. So with that being said, I'm optimistic on Baltimore. I think they could probably make a push, and I think that this is going to be a really fun team to watch, starting so far behind the 8 ball at this point. In week 8 with their record, but I've got the Ravens in this game by about 5.1. So if this is like Baltimore Classic, I do think that they're going to kind of do some stuff here to Chicago to make us like remember that, oh yeah, Baltimore was the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens, like, to lose the AFC. One of those teams was going to do it. This could kind of be that team. So I don't love it from the eye test, I guess. It feels like I don't want to go against Baltimore, but 6.5 for a team that, there could be some chemistry issues, just kind of coming back, some limitations for Lamar. With that said, like, I think this Bears team too is a little bit livelier than I thought. I think what's interesting too is that as I dig into these numbers, I'm okay to put the data into everything and just be like, well, this is what the model says, but I think that there's still a lot of value in kind of that ball knower aspect of things.
Yes.
But I also have to know what my biases are. And like, it's not the Bears of, prior years. I think this is a pretty good team in certain ways. So I'm okay with it. If that stuff lines up, I think this is a somewhat close game, and I'm getting, 6.5 for a team that is on a 4-game win streak and frankly should be able to move the ball a bit. My pick here would be Chicago plus 6.5.
And I think the interesting thing about Chicago is that they're moving the ball on the ground now. They have the pieces in the offensive line to do that. So I don't think it's a huge surprise to see things start to click there. I've got this as the Ravens minus 6.4, but that's assuming like a pretty healthy Lamar Jackson and the defense being, solid. And like, I just feel weird about the way they've kind of played things from a practice perspective. So like, if you force me to pick, I'd go with the Bears too, because like, if I know that I'm being like relatively optimistic about the Ravens and they're kind of making me less optimistic, the Bears are not a bad team to me if we're catching 6.5 against a flawed defense and an offense that may not be 100%. So I definitely understand the rationale. And 6.5 is enough where I don't think you're a donkey if you want to back the Bears here, given the uncertainty of the Ravens.
Yeah, I think it's a good offensive line that, rates out pretty well across the board for me. Yeah. And I just think that there's enough where, like you said, running the ball. I know historically you haven't been a huge DeAndre Swift guy, but he's been
historically makes it sound like that's a pass thing.
That's true.
But like he could have 600 yard games in a row and I wouldn't care. Like we're still cling to your priors.
Yeah. So I think that there's enough here again. Bears plus 6.5. The data bears it out and I can live with that.
All righty, let's move to our second game then. That is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Denver Broncos. Right now at FanDuel Sportsbook, this is sitting at 3.5 with the Broncos favored there. Total in this game is up to 50.5. Big number for sure. Find that very interesting. But Dak Prescott has played at an elite level so far. The Cowboys defense stinks. Cowboys catching more than the field goal here. So what's your read on this game?
Yeah, this one's interesting. It depends a lot on your process and probably, frankly, how much you account for defense, because my numbers every number basically hates the Dallas defense, but how do you account for that? Also, we're getting an indoor team going outdoors with a little bit of wind, roughly 8 miles an hour. It's not to the point that like, boy, this is just going to be, you can't even throw the ball here. But it's enough for it to impact a team that frankly is always lighting off fireworks at home and sometimes has some issues outdoors. It's not always been the case this year even, but just something to monitor against what my numbers all year have really considered a top tier defense, which is not surprising. I don't say that as like, boy, look out for this Denver defense. They'll kind of sneak up on you, but like player level stuff checks out, EPA numbers check out, just constantly in the market. You notice how valued this defense is. And with that said, I don't love the offense, but they're also facing about the least path of resistance that you could face. And I think that has to matter more than just assuming that the Broncos offense plays sort of average, when you get such a good matchup, you have to account for that. And so my numbers are finding it hard to keep this game around a field goal. And it's a little bit more toward a touchdown for Denver. And to be honest, after what they went through against the Giants, you could spin it as like, oh, it's going to be a letdown spot. The letdown spot was probably against the Giants, just kind of looking past them a bit and like looking to this game and getting scared like they did, by the Giants. I think that they won't really come into this game flat. So I'm kind of looking for the Broncos just to establish stuff, get about 13 guys a target at least, 8 or 9 guys a carry of some sort. I think, I don't know what it was last week, but it was like 8 and 12, in terms of rushes and targets, like guys just getting involved. I think they'll find ways to just move the ball here. And I have enough question marks with Dallas against this defense outdoors that I'm okay with the Broncos to cover 3.5 at home.
So I want to ask you about the total here, because you've got concerns about this Dallas offense moving outdoors, but also it is the Dallas defense. They have led to a lot of overs this year. I've bet on the under several times and been burned by that. What's your read on 50.5? Because to me, like, gut reaction to seeing 50.5 for a game in Denver is like, ugh, like, like the Dr. Phil shaking meme. Like, what's going on here? That never caught my attention, but like, what do you see with that total where it stands?
I got it at like 48.
Okay, cool. I have 47, so I want to make sure I wasn't like insane by having it there.
Yeah. This comes down to like, I think Bo Nix is fun. I don't know if he's going to go out and just take advantage of this matchup as much as Denver is going to, as a collective, take care of business and make sure that they win this game. So I don't know if I think their only goal here would be don't let it get turned into a track meet, because you're probably not hanging. I love, Cortland Sutton. I like some other names on this Denver team, but I don't know if you want Bo Nix going like needing to score 30 points to beat the Cowboys here. So I think that they will be able to kind of control it, milk this clock a bit, and come out with touchdown victory here.
Okay, so Brandon likes the Broncos -3.5. That is -105. As things in FanDuel Sportsbook, there's been some Broncos money out there for sure, because they were 3 earlier on this week. The 3.5 was, I think, like -102 yesterday. It's now to -105. So does seem like somebody out there very much agrees with you that the Broncos are the proper side in this one. Let's talk now about the team you mentioned as being number one in your numbers. They are playing on Sunday Night Football. That is the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. Packers go on the road, take on Aaron Rodgers Steelers. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, those Packers favored by 3. Pretty heavy 3 at -118. Total in this game up to 45.5. It was 44.5 earlier on today. Steelers offense has some decent underlying numbers so far. Are you willing to trust that enough to take the points with this game being in Pittsburgh?
This game's been baffling me because, I have, again, just my model has the Packers number 1 in the league right now, but Pittsburgh's not that far behind. When I talked about, like, you got to move past what you thought about teams entering the year, Pittsburgh is in that category of, like, look, man, it's week 8. This team's efficient enough on both sides of the ball to be, lively. The problem here for me, though, is when I dig into this matchup in particular, like, it's one thing to like let the numbers do the talking. It's another to look at, like, okay, what do these teams try to do? And, Pittsburgh can really ugly this game up, I think, by just being efficient, converting on third downs, extending drives, doing just enough. Aaron 3 clicks on the DVR's back. Like, this is a very slow team. Second slowest in the league. They have not had an adjusted pace in a single game, even really close to 30 seconds. Average is about 30.5 seconds. And to be honest, Green Bay's been playing pretty slow offensively in recent weeks. So with 2 strong defenses, 2 efficient offenses, I would not be surprised that this is a low-scoring game. I think it could be decided by a couple plays down the stretch. I do not think Aaron Rodgers is going to take a lot of risks here. I don't think he's going to want to turn the ball over. I think we might get a classic Aaron Rodgers, just like check it down, get 5 yards here, 5 yards there. So to me, the thing that I'm most interested in here is the under, now that it's at 45.5. I get it. Like, they're both good offenses. They're both, good defenses, but Pittsburgh tends to stack the box. I like Josh Jacobs just fine, but he's probably not going to do a lot with that, at least based on the numbers whenever he's facing heavy boxes. Probably still not 100%. So to me, I think, like, I can look at the numbers and I see it close, but as I kind of put in, not that I'm the best football ball knower, but like when I kind of go beyond that, I just feel like this one sets up to me as each team here would be fine winning 21-13 and just moving on. And I think that even is like, it feels a little bit more to me like 17-13.
They're kind of the same team, right? Which is a bummer, because I like the over here. I took the over here, and like, I'm concerned about that. Like, that's my biggest concern, is that like both these teams seem content always, and they seem like they are never as electric as you want them to be, unless they're facing Joe Flacco, apparently. Then maybe they get, I guess the Packers didn't do a lot against Joe Flacco, but like, I guess they did. No, the second time they faced Joe Flacco, they did. But like, I don't want, like, that's the concern for me, is the pace is not very high. They will sometimes come out and not be like the most electric as they could be. That's a concern for me. So like I said, I did take the over, but I understand why, when you kind of like think about this more anecdotally, because I had the same thought, the under would look pretty attractive at 45.5.
Yeah, it's just like, to me, if I had to pick two teams in the league who are good enough to try to win games without doing anything to get out over their skis.
Eagles.
I was going to say these two teams, the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably the three teams I think of the most.
Last year's Chiefs, but not this year's Chiefs, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Indy's still going to pile it on, kind of.
Bless them. Keep
like
doing
not,
it.
But not a lot of teams can kind of control the games on both sides of the ball. So I just think, and I could be way off base, I just don't know how this one turns into a track meet, really, based on, it just feels slow. It feels a little plodding. It feels like almost like a playoff game where it's not that the teams are trying not to lose, but that it's not turning into DK Metcalf scored 3 times and, Jordan Love threw for 6 touchdowns to 6 different guys. That just feels more like one team won, but it wasn't very high scoring.
Well, for our purposes, I'm hoping this game lands on 45 exactly, so I can win my over 44.5. You can win your under 45.5. We can both go home happy. Brandon, they're taking the under 45.5 minus 115. Broncos minus 3.5, and the Bears plus 6.5 as well. Okay, opening up the board now. Where else is seeing value across week 8 at FanDuel Sportsbook?
I have just one, and I'm pretty sure you're on it as well.
Okay.
But it's an over for Houston and San Francisco.
I am. It was very difficult to click, and I did take it Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I took it, but I got to tell you, it did not feel good doing so based on watching that Houston offense Monday. I did it. Yeah. Like, there are a lot of bets I make that I don't feel good about, but this is high on the list. Also, I kind of took the Houston money line. That was when it was even money. They're at minus 118 now. So like, it's less attractive now, but like, there have been a lot of, I kind of hate this bets specifically with this game this week.
Yeah, this is, I can understand that. This one is interesting. I actually went through and kind of changed the way that I adjust. Usually I would like kind of weight out different metrics. So I got the player level grade, like scores that I kind of, develop. EPA numbers, and then also just some long-term like sportsbook data based on some adjustments there. But there are certain teams that I think you can't just apply the same weights to. It's like, oh, it's week 8, the player level stuff gets this percent, EPA numbers get this percent. Like, one of the real reasons to change things was like the 49ers, just because you can't look at their full season data. And I know that there's still some question marks on both sides of the ball for this team, and Houston at home. It's not really a defense you want to mess with too much, but to me, I just think that there's enough here on both sides of the ball. The pace itself, not enough of an issue for me. It's actually kind of one of the faster paced games of the week. And to be honest, I just think that like it wasn't that long ago that we saw Houston play good football.
Yeah.
And then they were in, a tough spot, and it's a short week, whatever. But to me, there's enough here in the data with all the adjustments to be like, look, like you said, it doesn't feel right to be here. But I think this is like a close game and an important game for both teams.
Yeah. You talked about the matchup with Seattle. They went on the road, and bad lines don't travel. Like, that's like an old school, like, kind of saying that like people will lean on. It's kind of true though. But they put a bad offensive line on the road in a tough environment, and they were facing the 3rd best pass rush in terms of like adjusted pressure rate in Seattle. They're now at home and facing the 3rd worst pass rush in terms of adjusted pressure rate. And they just lost Bryce Huff as well. So it's a lot better setup for Houston. They don't have Nico Collins, I'd assume, for this game due to the concussion. And like, that does matter. He's obviously insane. He's a really good football player, but I think we could see the Niners score some points here. I think we could see the Texans score some points. So I don't mind taking over 41.5. It's just a low number too, frankly. I think that's a big helper too.
I mean, that's the real, that's like, that's how it works. It's not like, oh, 2 good offenses play the over. It's like, what's the over? Like, okay,
exactly.
This number here, it's low enough that I believe in the offense is enough despite not being complete. And there's enough with the the individual unit matchups going into this week that I got this one at about 45.
45.2.
There we go.
Which is actually, that is below average for like my model. Like I have like a baseline number that everything works off of. It's below that baseline number. So
you don't need it to be 50. You just need it to be 42.
42. Just give me 42, baby. Like,
yeah.
I was going to say you can do that, but I can't say that with full confidence based on what happened on Monday. But hey, the over hit in that game too. So hopefully we can hit again in this one. So Brandon is on the over for Niners Texans 41.5. That is minus 105. That is all that we have here for today on covering the spread. Again, a lot of good stuff here on the channel as well. Tomorrow, talking player props with Olivia Moody, getting her read on our top props for week number 8. We also had our college football preview with Ken Padgett earlier on. I broke down my thoughts in every single game back on Tuesday with my spread and total predictions, all up in the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page and the Covering the Spread podcast feed. And again, DFS show at Brandon Thursday, noon Eastern, as always on the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. Brandon, appreciate the time as always. Good luck to you with your bets in week 8. We'll talk to you once again soon.
Yeah, looking forward to talk some DFS as well.
All right. You can find Brandon on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Again, check out his work at FanDuel Research. I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes and on Threads at Jim.Sannes. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your week 8 NFL bets. Back again tomorrow, talking some NFL player props. This has been Covering the Spread, a FanDuel Research podcast.